Wilhoite, who is the Deputy Chief of the Consumer Affairs Division of the Tennessee Regulatory Authority. And of course, Ms. Wilhoite, we promised that we'd give you an opportunity during the second segment to sort of inform our audience of some of the issues, some of the most important issues that you've identified that they would be interested in dealing with your responsibility in the commission.
Okay. Well, a couple of the categories of complaints that our agency deals with are some of our leading complaints. There's an issue of slamming, which is the unauthorized switching of someone's long-distance carrier. What happens is a person opens up their telephone bill and sometimes see a telephone company that they are not familiar with, or they're very surprised by the astronomical amount of their bill, which has not been the norm. What they find out is that they've been, their long-distance service has been switched without their authorization. That's one of our leading complaints that we receive, and what we try to do is to resolve it in the fashion of making the consumer whole. But if the case is that they actually allowed their service to be switched and unknowingly it happened, it could very well be an instance of slamming. If in fact that it is found that the person did sign some type of agreement or said hello, said yes in a recording to the agreement to switch their long distance service, the company would not be fined. But nevertheless, we want to make sure it doesn't happen again. We want consumers to not be confused about who they have or who they will select for their long distance or local telephone service. So slamming is one of the leading causes, one of the leading complaints that we handle at our agency. Another complaint that we also handle is cramming. Those are funny words, slamming and cramming. Yeah, exactly. But the violation itself is so appropriate when it comes to the name. Cramming, which is the unauthorized billing of a service or product on a person's telephone bill. So you actually basically you have crammed that charge, or you've actually placed that charge on their bill, just you pushed it on them.
It's, in other words, it's a charge that they didn't ask for.
It's a charge
and so they're receiving some kind of program from the carrier.
Absolutely.
But they've not requested that program, and that's been added. Well, now, you know, I think that I've seen something like that on some of my own bills. And so that is known as...
It's cramming.
Cramming.
Exactly. Now, what consumers don't want to do is become confused by what is supposed to be on there, what's not supposed to be on there. Of course, you know, the telephone bill has changed quite a bit since divestiture. You know, it has changed quite a bit since the breakup of the baby bill. You see a lot of things on there that you have never seen before, and some of those charges are legitimate. Not all of them are handed down by our agency or allowed by the agency. There's some are allowed by the Federal Communication Commission. And of course, if the consumer has questions about that, they would need to contact the FCC. But we're always ready to help them understand whether it's a federal charge or a charge that was allowed by the state. We want to help them understand what is that charge, and if it's not supposed to be on there, we want to help the consumer to be made whole. And that was slamming, that was cramming. One very important program that holds dear to my heart, because it really does help so many people, and I'm glad that our agency is the agency that absolutely oversee the workings of it. It's called Link Up and Lifeline. Link Up is a program that will help low-income consumers to connect their service at a discounted rate. For instance, in a Bell South calling area, installation charge is about $41.50. That's not in all calling areas, but in your rate group, I believe 4 area, rate group 5 area, your highest rate group.
To get started, you have to pay that much money.
Yeah, $41.50 for installation charge. The Link Up program, if you qualify, will reduce that installation charge by half, thereby reducing the installation charge to about $20.75. And you can also take that $20.75 and the telephone company, and the one I'm speaking of specifically right now is just Bell South, because they are the dominant local exchange carrier in Tennessee. What they would do is allow you to divide that balance up over 4 months. So a person who's considered to be low income would not have to experience the large amount of $20.75, which may be minute to you and I, but to someone who's on a low and fixed income is so very important that they're able to pay their telephone bill.
So they will actually have access to having it installed and be able to pay $5, $6, $7 a month over a 4-month period for that whole installation.
For
That's
the
a good,
installation
yeah, that's
charge. Absolutely. And the greater news is the Lifeline. Lifeline Lifeline telephone assistant program. What it will do is provide up to $13.50 every month on your phone bill. So a person not only can get their service started at a reduced rate of half, but they'll also be able to save up to $160 a year, at least that amount, a year on their telephone bills. Now they can trade that off and buy things that can help better make their life, help promote better quality of life. Food on their table, are paying for another special service that will help them in using the telephone.
Now, where did these two programs come from? I mean,
well, they were federally mandated. They were federally mandated because the federal government felt that, you know, telephone service is no longer a luxury. It's a necessity. You know, elderly people or people who are bounded inside. This is their only communication to the outside world. The telephone helps a person to be able to call for a job, call and make an appointment at home, things that we take for granted. And at least local service, and of course, let's not forget, call for 911 for a sake of safety. So it promotes safety, welfare, also economical development by having a phone and being able to utilize it to help you promote better quality of life. Now, I was talking about the Link Up and Lifeline and what they'll do for you, but I need to at least tell you about how a person will qualify. So a person who is receiving either food stamps, there's two ways a person can qualify for either one of the programs.
Either the Link Up program or the other.
Right, because if you don't have phone service, you need both Link Up and Lifeline. And if you already have telephone service, you only want the Lifeline. There's two ways to qualify. If you are receiving food stamps or SSI, Supplemental Security Income, or Medicaid or Families First benefits, receiving any one of those programs will qualify you for Link Up and or Lifeline, receiving any one of them. Now, there are some people who are too proud to want to accept food stamps, or they just don't qualify for none of those programs. The second way to qualify is simply by your income. If the person's income is 125% of the poverty level guidelines, they will qualify to receive the Link Up and or Lifeline programs. For example, a one-person household.
That's good.
If their gross income is $970 or less, they can qualify for Lifeline. So you consider Mrs. Mary or Mr. Smith, who's just getting strictly Social Security, or they're getting VA pension. If they're a one-person household, widow or widower, and their gross income $970, then they could qualify for the program.
And of course, let me interrupt you here, Ms. Wilhoite, and we'll come back for our final segment. And thank you for that particular information, and we'll talk about it later.
Great.
We're talking